Opening prayer, and I just noticed that I had a copy of, remember when we did the Lord's Prayer series, and Joey Sandal Hill rewrote he was called to rewrite a version of the Lord's Prayer, so I thought I would use that for our opening prayer right now. So, our Creator, Spirit that flows through all and makes us one, let your unconditional love permeate our hearts and our world. Let our highest and best good be ever present and guide us to do good for others. Thank you for your grace and the guidance to give grace to others. Thank you for the abundance in our lives as we hold an abundant consciousness for the world. We know that through God all things are possible, and know the power, the presence, and the light of God dwell within us always, and so it is. Amen. A beautiful truth to remember. So what our intention today is, we have some new things we want to share with you that we're rolling out, give you some updates. We're going to do a drawing for the Amazon gift card for those that followed up with the contact information form. Steve's going to give us a brief financial update as to the status of where we are, and then we want to go into some creative prosperity visioning and call forth some of the ideas from you. And then we'll do a Q&A for the board if you have any questions left after all of that, and then end with a special blessing that I'll invite you all to engage with me and close with a prayer. So that's the plan. So the first thing that I want to share, what's new, this is something the board and I have been working on probably for most of a year, but because then we had a transition of the board and we had to kind of review things and bring things up to date and get the language right. But one of the things you may not know that I participate in is a monthly webinar with Unity Worldwide Ministries that's called Let's Grow Together, and it's all about prosperity and looking at prosperity funding and how we can be abundant in our spiritual communities. And the expert that leads it talks a lot about how we can invite our members to be aware of other ways you can support us financially other than just your regular monthly and weekly giving. And so we have created a Unity of South Sound Legacy Giving Program that is about all the different ways that you can give. And inside it says, leaving a gift to Unity of South Sound in your estate plan can help ensure our ministry continues to provide positive, practical, spiritual teachings to help the next generation live healthy, prosperous, and meaningful lives. You can give in many ways, either as general support or for specific purpose. In instances, your gift will help lay a foundation of financial stability that will serve people who live after your lifetime a legacy of love. And so we give information about the different ways that you can give. There's 7 different things about leaving a legacy, and the realization that it's important to have a planning your estate. So reach out to a tax attorney or somebody that does that. If you need guidance individually, we're not offering that. But we're giving you ideas and resources that we think will be very useful. So we do have extra copies of that. So if any board members, if you want to raise your hand if anybody would like a copy, and maybe you guys could just hand those out. And our media manager, Mary Lindsay, who works virtually for us from Tennessee, is the one that created this, and I think she did an awesome job. I think you'll be impressed. So that is the first thing we're excited to share with you. And then I'm going to invite LaDonna up for a new policy that we are going to introduce, which will be showing up on the website soon.
Hi. Based on our lease agreement with Tacoma Musical Playhouse, there are absolutely no animals of any kind allowed in this building. And of course, the only exception to that would be a certified service animal. And in that instance, the person, the owner of the pet would need to sit at the rear and be taken care of by one of us, specifically with other details that I won't mention now. And so
If
As
you
much
could
as-
just read it to them.
Read it?
Yes.
Here goes. Unity of South Sound Pet Policy. Based on our lease agreement with Tacoma Playhouse Theater, animals of any type are not allowed inside the building. Certified service animals for medical support are legally allowed to be present during services and events when leashed and wearing their certification vests. We ask that you please be seated near the back of our sanctuary out of respect for those with allergies.
Thank you, LaDonna. I'll just put this here. So if you have any questions about it or a concern for an exception, just ask a board member. But we just want to honor the health and wholeness of everyone that comes here so they feel welcome. And so another quick brief update is at the annual meeting, we talked about bringing in a church management system. It's called Breeze. We have activated it this month. And the first thing we need to do is to transfer all of our membership information into the system. And we wanted to make sure we started with accurate information that we don't know. Sometimes people have changed things. And so Mary created a form that we sent out to all of our voting members to start with to update all their information and added some information that we didn't necessarily have recorded that will be helpful in the future. And so this is the first step in that. What we will be inviting you to next is to create your own membership portal. And we will be giving information on that and doing some Zoom lessons on that process. But that way, then you can be responsible for going in and updating your own information whenever it changes. It also will give you a link to your financial information that only you, so everybody, the parameters will be set so that you only have access to what you need to know and what's important, and everything is confidential and safe. But you'll be able to check in on any of the gifts that you have given to us to ensure that they've been deposited and that the amount is accurate. So that way, if there's any problems, you can address it now rather than wait until the end of the year when you get your letter of affirmation of what you have given on an annual basis, and if it may not be accurate. So this will be a win-win for all of us, in that we have more hands-on, in the moment now, keeping accurate information. And we will be unrolling different aspects of this program as we're ready for them. And Amy will be the primary operator of that, so she'll be available for questions. But we appreciate everybody that did fill out that form. And so we thought, as an incentive to make sure that you did it, we would offer a gift. So the board has provided an Amazon gift card for you. And I'm going to ask Jan Janos to come forward to choose the name of the recipient. And if you're not here, you will still get it.
Okay.
Do 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 do. Gary Thrantham. Woohoo! So come up and get your Amazon gift card. Okay, don't come up, I'll come to you. You can pass it down. Spend it well. Oh, that's me clicking. All right. So now I'm going to turn this over to Steve to give us an update on our finances. And we do have PowerPoint slides. Yep, I just hit it down here. There you go.
Thank you. All right, as we get into this, during the service we had that little video from Unity Worldwide Ministries, and so when I come up here, I always like to think I got background or soundtrack behind me, you know, with the dynamic stuff and the zooming, but we don't. But we can always imagine. So we have a few slides, and we have one quick slide that reviews our income year to date through May of this year, There's 3 columns up there, one year to date through May of last year, and then May of this year, as well as our budget for this year. So as you can see, this year we're falling behind a little bit. Our budget, of course, is pretty close to what it was last year, and we didn't reach our budget last year either. So we can see fairly quickly that our ties are off, and that's something that we're continuing to work on a regular basis, trying to make sure that we get those up to where we need them. Our tithing tends to be the thing that we can move or work with the most in our budget rather than our expenses. That's always is a challenge for us because many of our expenses tend to be fairly fixed in terms of operating with the congregation of our size. So basically, there's, nothing particularly. You can see fundraising is a little higher than usual, and that has to do with youth ed and having some extra trips or YOU camps and different things like that. They've been very active, and we're happy to have an active youth group, and that also includes the portion of the for the chaplain's retreat, the personal portions, as well as for the women's retreat. So we had a lot of things going on. So that isn't truly, a lot of that isn't truly fundraising. A lot of it is in terms of doing activities. So that's our income. As we move on to the next slide, we can see what our expenses are. Yes. Oh, you need the descriptor or the? You need a seeing eye dog. The top line is our contributions, tithes, and offerings. The total operating income for last year was $85,825. The total operating income for this year is $74,497. So that's off 11 grand or so. And then our budget is actually for $101,392. Now, expenses. We got a lot more items here, but if you looking at the bottom line, let's just go to the bottom line so we can. The total expenses for May through May of 2003 is $101,625. This year we spent $102,512, and our budget is $105,589. What that tells us is we've stuck pretty close to what our budget was last year, and we've only spent $1,000 more this year than we did last year, and we're still operating slightly under budget. So our expenses are well in line with what we have planned for our operations, and that's a good thing. So just to finalize, can we go to the next slide? This just shows us our bottom line as of May. So as of May last year, we were down $15,800. This year, we're down about $28,000, and our budget, as of this point in time, would show a deficit of $4,197. And the reason that some of the deficits comes in earlier in the year is because we usually have a big fundraiser in the fall that makes up for some of this. So we can see right now what we have, and that we have work to do, and we have 6 more months to do it. Just the final slide just shows us what our assets are as of this year. in the credit union there, $10,770. Edward Jones is our investment account, has got $64,780 left in it, for a total of $75,558. So last year, our Edward Jones account was higher. It's been used to subsidize our operating expenses over the last 2 years. And so last year at this time, at the end of May, we had $101,215. So basically, that's our position right now, and we are working actively to do what we can to get us back on track, and Reverend Megan will guide us in that path.
Well, I'm not a miracle worker, but I do appreciate you, Steve, and your focus on numbers. And I just want to point out a couple things too, in that, with our reserves and the investment funds, that tends to go up and down with market too. So we don't have control over that. Sometimes we've had some losses, other times it's come back around. And we also budgeted with a plan of knowing that we were going to need to do prosperity funding around at least another $30,000 in the year. And I just want you to know too, is that I just came back from Unity convention in Kansas City, and networking with my colleagues. All the ministries are in the same place. Every single ministry is in a place where they need to do some creative prosperity funding above and beyond what our members give. And so for my responsibility is to continue the spiritual educational awareness of the practice of the law of giving and receiving, and being in that inflow and the outflow. And that if you're not giving, to let go of any fear, especially when I hear so often those that say I have a fixed income. And so if we can let go of that language, because fixed universally vibrationally means then that I shut the door to anything more. And so all of us live in a fixed income in a sense, and that we know what our counted on income can be. And many of us are in a place that don't have an increase in your income every year. I would not ask the board to increase my income under our financial circumstances, but I know that I'm blessed in the universe, and that there's unexpected income that can come in. And if I stretch myself with the principles of giving and receiving, then I know that I'm expanding my consciousness to create room for more to come in. And that many of our resources come in unexpected ways, not necessarily by money in my pocket, by unusual ways of receiving what I need. And so that's our practice, to be that. And so we need to challenge our community to do the same thing. Is there anywhere, any place that through our collective energies, we are creating a block in the flow? Are we holding on to any fear of, or thinking that, well, I don't have enough, so somebody else will cover it? And not to be unkind, but that's just the thinking that can go through our minds, and to realize that's why we wanted to offer the Legacy Plan Giving Program, to realize that, many of us are in the place where, I know Michael's having to look this year at being 73, is that you have to take out of your 401k, you have to receive something, and then they tax you on it. But you can transfer it directly to a giving to the church, where you're not taxed because it goes directly into a taxable giving place, and we aren't taxed on it either, so it's a win-win. If you're not in the position of needing that money, you could reinvest it in our spiritual community. So that's just one example, that we want to create awareness of the different ways we can fund ourselves. And it can be really fun. So one of the things that we have, and this comes from LaDonna, this is our awesome bell. So from now on, whenever we have awesome news, no matter what it is, we're going to pull out our awesome bell and go, awesome bell! And we can all clear and clap and cheer, right? So I'm very excited about our awesome bell. That creates vibrational energy, right? So let us know if you have something that you want us all to clap and cheer about. We'll ring the awesome bell. It's why I've introduced the idea of a prosperity minute. So if any of you have prosperity stories, something that has shifted, it made a difference, you've been practicing something and noticed, please let me know. I would like to invite you to come up and share it. because it's always better if it comes directly from the one that's excited about the gift they received. But if you're not comfortable, I will do it for you, and I could coach you through that. But I want to be able to share these things to let everybody know that when we practice principle, it transforms our life. It makes a difference. So, and it's something we have to be diligent about, which is why the board and I realize we also have to be diligent. And so now's the time for us to start looking at how we can start to create some prosperity funding and events and programs. So what do we want to do? Do we want to create a silent auction again in some form? Last year we did a modified form of it. We realized close to $10,000, which made a difference. Didn't cover our, we call it a bridge the gap. So it's not a deficit, it's just a gap between what we receive and what we need to expend. So the universe is infinite, and the opportunity to bridge that gap is out there. So I want to tap into the wisdom within all of you, and I'm going to invite Sue to come up and write on this flip chart. We're going to capture your ideas and consider what those things might be. And so while she's coming up, I just want you to close your eyes for a minute. And we just take a deep breath in and allow that breath to move from your head into your heart space, to expand your heart space. That we're breathing into the heart where we connect with the infinite wisdom of the divine source, that we call God, that gives us this vibrational experience of life. And we tap into that wisdom and that guidance. And we hold our awareness open to receiving the ideas. What are seeds that we can plant that will manifest abundance for this ministry? What is some idea that I'm willing to participate in to help bring this about, to be a part of a team to inspire others? What is something that I'm aware of that we could do that we haven't considered yet? And just let the wisdom come. And we're grateful for whatever shows up, and so it is. So I'm going to share a couple of things that I just did some Googling. There are a couple of websites that some of you might want to check out. I know a couple of ministries that actually do a nonprofit bingo, and they realize like $1,000 a week in doing bingo. They go to a place where you can, I don't know the right word, but it's like you have your space to do the bingo, so it's all set up and they have the caller and everything, and then they share the proceeds of that to that nonprofit for the day. And people love it. So there's ways that we can participate in that. There's another website that has fundraising for nonprofits and all kinds of different ideas. And I'm thinking of what can we do throughout the year that can be realizing different ways of bringing money in, so that we're not just trying to put all our hope into one big event. That's important too, but what else can we do? So what wisdom is tapping into your awareness right now?
Thank you. This may not be a fundraising event, but it may be an event, it may be something that we do that will help grow the church, which would be fundraising. For a couple of years now, I've participated in a peace circle in Olympia, a peace and healing circle, and it was a calling that I had years ago to bring that here. The pandemic happened and everything else happened, so it didn't happen.
And so do people give an offering to participate? Is that where the...
It would be an offering to participate. When I have mentioned it to members, they have embraced it as something that they would like to see here.
Well, I know you've shared it with me, and I certainly am open to it. We just had so many other things on the plate ahead of it. But let's write down Peace Circle, a monthly Peace Circle, as a possibility, because different events and activities can be some of the things that we want to create, which is why I have wanted to have an event team that are on hand so that we look at the calendar and we can plan things, and they're the first-hand people that start to put the details and the plan together and then share it with the office when we need to create marketing material. It's time to invite people to join in.
In another life, I was project development and on boards for nonprofits. So I would definitely volunteer to be part of that planning. To my husband's dismay.
Steve's like, what did she just say? I'm not sure that I got that. So, Annie, what exactly is it that you said you're willing to put your name down for?
For what you're planning.
The event team.
And the event team. And so, but see, what I want you to know is like, I know some people go, oh my God, I can't do that. It's not for one person to lead it alone. You know, it's like you can have co-leaders. 2 or 3 people come over, and then when the events are ready, then you invite others to join in. But to have the eyes on the calendar of the year, so that we're not like, oh my God, we should have been planning this, it happens next week, scrambling. We don't want to be doing that. We want to have intentional planning. So who would like to join Annie on that? Candace, all the people that already are on 6 other teams, but. So let me know, and we can start planning, and I will sit on that to help you get started, okay? Yes.
In December of 2018, I founded the Fun and Unity program where we were doing events, musical playhouse, and the car museum, and the magical strings down Christmas concert, and is it including all of these kind of things?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that what you're talking about is having fun together. It's the social connections, and so we had talked about what if we had like each quarter some special event that we can all get together and play, because it makes connections. Yeah, bring your friends, and then they go, well, this is such a fun group. I want to come and see what else you're doing, right? So we want to start planning things like that. So maybe you can let LaDonna know if you have any ideas of social fun events that we could go. It could be like going to the theater together, a movie, bowling, all kinds of stuff. But if we start with 1 a quarter, then we have it in the plan, and we know that we're always going to have fun together, right? Okay.
So I have energy around reaching out to other Unity people. I feel like we've lost people here that maybe we could get back if we just reached out to them. And other Unity communities, such as Unity of Tacoma, and I think Kent just closed their doors. So it's
Tacoma is still meeting online,
yeah.
and Unity of Kent has officially disbanded. And just to let you know that they sold their building. They couldn't afford the taxes on the building anymore. They sold the building, and they took all of their assets, and they divided it up, and they sent a gift check to all of the ministries in this area, and we received $5,000 from them in April. So that was a wonderful gift.
So kind of related to that, the Unity of Tacoma community, I would just love to have one Unity community in this area. And I think there's some energy that would have to get worked through. I have some ideas about how to do that, like a community building. That was something we used to do at Unity of Salem. And, you know, we could invite them to participate in something like that. But I would
To do some joint things. You have to be very cautious and gentle and appreciate, you know, they're trying to still do the best they can and evolving, and they're not ready to like let it go, so we don't want to like be inappropriate. But the most important thing is for each of you, because you have the connections of people that you know that you haven't seen for a while, or you know who you might have known when you were at Unity of Tacoma, just to reach out and invite them. That we're, you know, regrouping in a big way, and we're really, we feel the energy, and we would like to have them join us. It would be most effective if it comes from an invitation from you and who you know.
Okay, here's.
Maybe have the community meeting once a quarter or once a month or something like that.
Have the what?
Oh, our intention with the board is to have something quarterly to share with you and to connect with you.
Well, I mean with the other unities.
Oh, we would have to sit with, you know, like talking to their minister and like be very specific as to how it could be a mutual benefit. and being gentle with the invitation. But I think holding that, I've had some conversation with the minister. We were actually going to do a joint Easter service this year, and they were going to come to us. But the communication, she changed her email and I didn't get that, so she wasn't getting my messages. And but that collaboration of different events, that has already been expressed between their minister and myself, and so we are open to do that.
Okay, here's a departure from traditional music that's an option if we can take it, because I know the space is owned by Tacoma Musical Performance.
Mm-hmm.
It's a two-time Grammy winner. His name is Nathan Breedlove, and he's a trumpeter and leader of a band formerly called the Scatolites, ska music.
Okay.
But these are all old veterans from the jazz world, kind of intense. They play a lot, and they're willing to go in on a percentage split just because I can't get them any space at the university if there's an opportunity in the fall. They're mostly affiliated with the Seattle Repertory Jazz Orchestra, which plays a lot of the major spaces, Benaroya, Kirkland Performance Center. And they're willing to come in and do a night of jazz, like Marine View Presbyterian does. And it's just an idea if you want to go into a percentage split with them, if we're allowed to do that.
Oh, yes, that would be great. I think having musical concerts and things where the outer community has some awareness of who they are could be a great draw. So we could pack the house and it would be a win-win for us and for them.
Yeah.
And it also creates interest. So when we have those things, we can have our brochures and things out and invite people to come and check us out because we have other events and ways that we can make a difference in their lives. So yeah, write down concerts. You did, okay. You're writing really small.
You know, I really like Cerny's comment, and I wrap that around collaborations. You know, we're small. We need to grow our numbers. As you know, I've been in fundraising for a long time, over 40 years. I've walked away with the idea that it's about building relationships, and the short line to the cash, if you will, is straight ahead. I'm not big into special events. I think they become very distractive. I think you need to have some. Faith in Action is a great one in the spring, one in the fall. These kind of collaborations, what they do is they also raise awareness,
Right.
as well as funds. So you're not only raising funds, but you're raising friends. Reverend Megan, you spoke about the MDRs, that mandatory distribution reduction. So for those persons who are retired, I think that the age is 73, you are, to Reverend Megan's point, you have to take those funds that you have in a 401k and you have to put those somewhere, and because the IRS wants to get your money. So if you give it to a nonprofit, then you don't pay any capital gains taxes on that. So it's very good. So one of the things that I can do is I'm going to put Unity of South Sound in my will. And so I'm really enthused about this. This is in alignment with what's going on in this community. It's called Leave a Legacy. And if you go on the website, you can see Leave a Legacy, Greater Tacoma Community Foundation, other organizations are aligned with that. And so there's free stuff, it's all free. You can write a will, you can do codicil for the will. There's all manner of things that you can do. And the beautiful thing about this is whether you do a percentage, or you do a lump sum, or you do a remainder of what's left after you've thought about your children or some other designees, you can think of your church. In the old days, the successful churches, they had endowments, and it was because people remembered their church in their wills. So this is another straight line to the cash. Everybody has an estate. People may be challenged for whatever reasons. I'm not going to judge them one way or the other as to how much they give or how they give or what percentage they're supposed to give. I won't go to any of those places, but this is a very tangible way of doing it. And the average gift is $50,000. So it's no small amount of money. So I'm glad that we're doing this program. Thank you to the board. Thank you to Reverend Megan for doing that. So collaborations, I think, is good in the area of special events. I think something like this is important as well. The other thing is maybe there's some small groups that people can come, together and maybe speak about these things as well. There are a lot of people in Unity and outside of Unity who care greatly about the very same principles that we have here. Rose and I last night were up at Seattle Town Hall. It was filled with 900 people who aspire to the very same things that we do. Lee Harris was speaking up there, so the other idea of collaborations, perhaps there are other spiritual communities that want to come together around certain speakers. We've seen them before, Don Miguel Ruiz, Unity of Tacoma and some other places. That could be another way to bring people together. I think we have to raise the awareness, increase our numbers. That's what I think is critical. And then without apology, be able to ask people to join us. But we're small.
Right.
So just to be more deliberate about what we do, but opening it up and holding it in faith that that's going to attract people. And that the right, perfect people will come. They'll give commensurate with their ability. So I think that's a tangible way. I've shared with you, I'm not a member. I'm a committed, intentional giver, but I'm not a member. And I'm, happy to meet, at your desire or the board's desire to help them also with some of their planning. That's another way in which I can be involved as well. So anyway, there's a few thoughts.
Thank you. I really appreciate your insight and guidance, Alan. I want to share something that just came to my awareness actually last night. And I don't know if any of you were thinking the same thing, and it's something the board and I need to be aware of in how we present things, is that we got some feedback on somebody that had received the contact information form, and the person said that they have intentionally been staying away because they're on a fixed income that hasn't changed for many years, and they feel like what we've turned our Faith in Action program into fundraising offends them. And so I just, I realize that everybody hears things in different ways, and we have to be intentional in how we present it. And the book study program educationally is really important, but also when we do our pledge campaign so that we can help the board in preparing the budget for next year is really important as well. And then any kind of a fundraising program that we're doing, that's why I like to call it prosperity funding, the silent auction or whatever, we've tied it into some kind of a gala at the end of that because it builds on the excitement and the vibration, but I realize we have to be careful with how we present things. And yet, I'm not responsible for how people receive things or how they choose to respond or not respond to something. But I just wanted to put that out there, and I'm just aware that sometimes what we're doing may be misinterpreted or not fully embraced. Go ahead, Al.
Getting back to reaching out to other people who are in Unity, and I believe it was January of 2020, before the big pandemic hit, we had a directory, and people were invited to come. We could have our photograph put in there so people knew who we were, and then, of course, we weren't able to meet in person for quite a while. And then coming back, there are a lot of people that came every single Sunday, and I would see them here. I don't see them. And I don't know if it's, you get into a habit, you're not going to church again, but if I can't find my directory, but if we had that directory, we might be able to update it. You have that directory? Yeah. And just reach out to to all of them, and maybe have a special, I won't say event, but a special Sunday, welcome back to Unity, here we are, we didn't go away in person now, and see if we could draw some of those people, because they were very active in the community, and part of that they were giving, and right now they may just be online, sitting at home and not.
Well, and I appreciate all that you've shared. I know that during the pandemic, the board was calling and reaching out to people that in the first year since I was here, some of that was being done. And There are many people that have moved out of the area, they've moved on, they're clearly not going to be coming back. Others just have gotten used to not having the intention of showing up, and we still occasionally get somebody that comes in and goes, oh, I forgot what the energy feels like when we're in person. I'm like, well, don't forget and come back next week. But I want to address the directory, and we intentionally are not going to be creating one like the past, because what happens is they are very quickly outdated. There's a cost involved, in which is why we're going to our church management system, and Breeze, which will create a membership system so that people can go online and access our members to connect with them. And I think there'll probably be a way we can even upload pictures too. But we're moving in the direction of the world, is to moving to automating for efficiency and using technology, because it also reduces our costs and the time that it takes to maintain things. So from a budgeting perspective, that's our goal, is where we can reduce costs and time and automate things and make it more efficient for all of our staff. And we just sort of watch how that is. So we're going to wait and see how this management system, it's a slow process in gathering everything and getting it in place, but I think that you're going to be excited. Many Unity churches are using a system like this, and it makes it an easy way of staying connected. So I can't speak to any more about it because I don't have hands-on experience yet, but I've heard from colleagues that it's fabulous. So we are looking for ways we can stay connected. But all of you reaching out to people you know that you haven't seen is a very powerful way. Because when somebody can come in and sit with somebody they already know, it's much easier and more welcoming than those courageous ones that just are looking for a church and happen to show up. And that's the other thing, is how welcoming are we to them? To be really intentional about, if you see somebody you don't recognize, just go over and introduce yourself and ask them how they happen to find their way here. Is there anything they want to know about Unity? And invite them into a conversation at the table so that they don't feel left out.
I just have a last comment. I don't mean to be contrarian, but I also look at the world out there, and what I'm seeing is a lot of people aren't into the membership piece as much. We want members, of course, but what we really want is we want loving hearts. We want people who see this as a place where they can learn, they can grow, they can get their spiritual connection. And that then their giving, follows that. There are hundreds, there are thousands of people that are out there, but they are finding other teachers, other spiritual teachers, because we are on the vanguard. We are on the right path. It's Unity path that started 100 years ago. A lot of people are coming into right now, but there are a lot of teachers, and they're finding their information elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And sometimes membership, just like churches, again, not to be contrarian, but have had more to do with separating people from God than bringing people to God. And so I think that's what we're saying. We're inclusive. We want everybody to come on in here, and so yes, reaching out to those that we know and finding other ways in which we can make these connections is important, and so people can feel, because what they really want is they do want community. They want to be with like-minded people. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of folks that are out there, and I think that's one of the things that we offer. And have to get creative, and I think that falls probably in our marketing arena. And again, this has nothing to do with me, because I love this place very, very, very much. But what I do, and as Reverend Megan knows and the board knows, that's why I'll always be involved. I'll continue to be involved, and it's going to be in my will. But I teach best practices. I'm not interested in the governing aspect of it, because that's for the community. And again, it's not about me, but what I am offering is, I work with 100 different nonprofits, and I see where they're at, and many, many other different churches and things like that. I mean, we are a gift to the world, and people are looking for a place. And so for us to find a way, in the way that we talk about it, we have wonderful teachers that are out there right now, but the word tithing is not a good word for right now. Mm-hmm. It's not that it doesn't work, because of course it works, but there are other ways that also work, and that is basically having people then to give in and of themselves, in that time, treasure, talent, in that arena. Again, it's just one opinion, but that's what we're being asked for here, and that's what I'm offering, because I think, we're such a gift to this community, and it would be wonderful to have this place, filled up. But I think we have to move beyond some of the old teachers who gave us some of those original prosperity principles. I have all those books. I read all of those books. But a lot of those things are being parroted now, and we are looking to involve more and more people. And so they're not as tied to some of those words or some of those persons. Again, not to be contrarian, but I think as we look to change our minds to see what's going on in the world and how we can be a light onto that world, I think there's some things for us all to stretch and look at as well. And I think that speaks to the fundraising piece. Because fundraising is about then finding that emotional connection, and then people look for a rational reason to justify it. And we have to find that emotional connection.
Yeah. Thank you, Al. I really appreciate that. And, you know, one of the things that I'm becoming more and more clear is it is all about engagement, how we engage with each other, inviting. So, you know, I'm curious as to what kind of things are you moved to participate in? For instance, I'm trying to gauge, like, are people willing to come back to a class in person, or does online still work better for you? I know a lot of people aren't really interested in coming here at night in this building, in this location, but we just did the spiritual economics class, and we had 3 options for people to participate, and we only had 8 people participate in between the 3 different times. And so I was curious as to, was it the times that weren't available to you? Was it the timing to make a commitment? Or is the spiritual education and taking classes not something that's an interest to the majority of people anymore? What do you want to show up for? Go ahead, Jim.
Are there any legal issues or tax problems if the church receives donations and gives a charitable slip to someone that they can use for tax donation, and then the church then goes and sells those goods?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Okay, so I give a table to the church. I donated to the church. I can receive a tax deduction for that. And then if you sell the table and receive that money, is there any tax or legal implications of any of that? Is that just a clear, easy transaction?
Yeah. The only thing is that the church doesn't really want to get into the business of receiving tangible things that we have to resell. So if somebody has something, they can bring it to us, and the board will decide whether it's something that they decide that they would want to process or not. But I know that there's times where people would maybe donate a car or something, but for us to have to get involved in the selling of those things, that's not really what we're here to do. So it's kind of like a case-by-case situation, but that's the way it would work. Yeah, it would be a tax donation for you, and there's no tax on the funds that we receive from it.
So this is a little, what I've observed in our neighborhood, a home above us sold, and they had an estate sale. It was really a moving sale. And over a 2 or 3 day period, it was absolutely incredible the amount of goods that went off the shelves. Not only furniture, but little glassware and things that it was gone, absolutely gone. And this was a nice home. And so, I was talking to Sandy earlier today too. Some of us have furniture at our homes that are like, I go 2 or 3 generations, Sandy, I think she said even more generations, that just because of our age, we've acquired all this furniture from family. And you have very few family members that may be interested, but there's a lot of people who are interested in items. And so what's just sort of going through my head is that it's a lot of work, like to have a garage sale or some kind of sale.
It is.
But there are companies that do that, and I don't know if the company that did the one in our neighborhood was exquisite. They set it up, they priced it, they managed it, they advertised it, and so I'm sure there's a hefty percentage there too.
I think there's usually at least 30%. From my mom used to be in that kind of a business, and I kind of go like, ooh, I want to do that, because I know how much work is involved, and I know churches that have done it and they've made a considerable amount of money, but the problem is that you're left with a lot of stuff that you then have to figure out where to donate it and how to get rid of it. And a lot of the, like for instance, Goodwill and all those places, they won't take furniture anymore. So it's not as easy to get rid of it. So we'd have to be very intentional in thinking around, and because we don't own this building, it's not like we could take it over and do something, but it could be that if you individually were doing some sales, or you collectively came together to do some kind of a sale and a particular home, and that you were willing to donate a percentage of the proceeds to the church, that would be great. And I know that there are companies, yeah, they do that, but they do take at least 30% of the proceeds. But they manage it really well, and then you can, you know, market it. And if it was something that was going to be benefiting the church, we could probably put it out on our social media and that kind of thing. So there's versions of that that could be a possibility. LaDonna.
If there's anyone in our community that wants to donate a single item, I'll sell it for you. I'm happy to sell it for you and donate 100%. I won't take a dime. I will do that for my community. But I've sold everything from automobiles to trinkets online. It sells so easily, doesn't it?
Yeah, we could maybe establish a Unity of South Sound eBay account, and people could donate things and sell it through that, and somebody like
I know.
LaDonna or somebody could help manage it.
It's amazing how quickly some things can sell. Bert and Sandy are my most recent folks. I helped them, and it was a lot of fun. So
See, it's like you have to have the passion and the excitement around doing it.
I do.
And so that's just it. It's like somebody asked me to do that, and I'd be like going, oh, kill me
I
now.
love circulation. I
I called one thing and she sold, I don't know how.
eBay, individual items to sell.
On a small
I
town.
I would do
Resale, okay, yeah, resale.
resale / eBay.
I just want to say real quickly, there's a smaller way to also give money as we go along. We all have family that have passed and who we really loved. And in the old days, because we've also got the will involved in our life and our trust, we just donated money for flowers and other things. But we could donate for whenever our parents passed. Both of mine are passed, and so is our Scott, in a monthly way, to just give back a little bit or a lot. Every year, every Sunday, or once a month, or once a quarter. We have 4 parents that have passed. We could give something in that regard, as well as our regular giving. And we also do tax-free donations through our trust account and our brokers, and that also helps. And there's no tax on either side. We've done that with you a few times, and we'll continue to do for the rest of the year for our share of what we always give.
Well, and see, that's being creative, thinking outside of the box of what I have and creative ways I can share. And, you know, we benefit when in any way you can, you set up some kind of reoccurring giving, because then we know we can count on it. So, and if you have questions, then, you know, seek somebody that can help you figure it out. Steve might be a good resource. I know Janice also does taxes, and she might be a resource for questions. We don't want to become the place that helps you manage your state and figure all that out, but let's think outside the box.
And thank you, because you gave a talk not too long ago, and it was well before we had already included the church in our will. And that meant a lot to me, because we were already doing what you suggested. It just felt so great. And then we also took some money from our account, tax-free, and gave it to the church directly, because they are a 501c3.
And if you wanted to give in memory of someone, you know, we would acknowledge that. So, yes.
On that same idea that Maria suggested, monthly we talk about where our tithings are going. It could be as simple as having announcements once a month of people, like in memory of Bill Davidson, or for Skylar's birthday or something like that, or maybe separate births and deaths, and just have that opportunity and make it an announcement, and then people might say, well, I want to do that, and the cost would be close to zero to do that, and it would stimulate, give some reason to give a gift.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. And so we would be happy to share in a way that, you know, that we are grateful for the gifts given in the name of, in the memory of, yes. I know if any of you have to go to other plans, we appreciate you being here as you can. We're getting close to wrapping things up. But I just, you know, it's like, let's think outside the box. We're planting seeds. It's like, we want to just throw anything and everything up there, and then we'll kind of consider like what filters to the top that makes the most sense that we can put our energy into now, and other things may be possibility, but we're not ready for yet, or there has to be more information in order to make it happen. But I would like to collect all this, and we can share it with everyone and say, do you have any ideas to add to this? The other thing is that I've been going around and around in my head for quite a while, and it's always trying to figure out the timing of everything, but who would be willing to just be part of a visioning team with me, where we just sit and we hold the vision, and not that we're fixing anything, because that's not what we're looking for. There isn't a problem. You know, remember that the only thing we're lacking is ideas to turn into some abundance within this community. And we all tap into a different aspect of the infinite realm of possibilities. And so I don't know if it would be, I'm thinking like before service might not be practical because I never know what I'm gonna be called to manage. If we did it after service, you know, people wanna connect and socialize. Would it work better to do as an online visioning that we get together? Well, I know the vibrational connection, it's just the timing of in-person. If it's not on Sunday, it's really hard to get together because people are spread out all over the place. So I'm open to what ideas you might have, but that's what I really would like to have, is a visioning circle. Just write down the names of people that want to be in a visioning circle. So we have Michelle, we had LaDonna, we have Al. Who else did I see? Jan. Hold your hand up if you wanted to be part of that. Okay. And know that you can think about it and let me know later. But I just, and it may be just doing it once a month, maybe after service for now. But weekly would be more powerful. And it could only just be 5 minutes. I mean, it doesn't have to be a long time, but we just like calling the ideas. If we have something intentional, then we hold that. And we see how we imagine it unfolding. Candace.
Do you want to keep going with that, or can I throw out another?
No, you can go ahead.
All right, and I'm wrestling with myself about whether to even say this, but this is a lot of space, and to me, it's not ideal for our needs. But we've bounced around so much. I would just love to have our own church where our kids could have meeting rooms and where people aren't getting into our stuff. So I don't know if there's any energy. If anybody else holds that energy.
I think it's like on the peripheral of if there was an ideal situation, because there's a financial impact of moving and changing location and getting people to know where we are. And I don't know that we have any intention of owning a building, because there's a whole nother financial obligation that comes with that. And many churches now are selling their buildings and going to alternative space. But I think that we are open to considering the possibility of something that would be a better fit if somebody has an awareness of it. It's like, bring it to us, we can check it out. We don't have to do anything, but we aren't wasting our time by considering the possibility of something. I'm grateful that we have a lot of space for what we need to do, but it also has an older traditional church image, which could be a deterrent to some people coming to what they're looking for, an alternative experience. And it's like, well, it looks pretty traditional to me. And you know, the maintenance of this, and our owners, they don't have the budget or really the investment in maintaining some of that. We don't have control over things. We have to hide things when kids are in the building. So there's pros and cons no matter what we do. So our goal is to hold the highest and best for Unity of South Sound now, what serves us best. And if there's a possibility of a space that would really allow us to thrive, we should check it out.
How much is our rent here?
What?
What is the rent here for us?
3,700 or something like that? 3,500 a month, which is reasonable for considering what we have and for commercial space in the area, but it's still pretty high.
So if we found something more reasonable financially, the board would consider it.
And the space was conducive, and so it has to be something that improves our conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This or something better.
Yes.
Yeah.
So knowing we were going to have this meeting and knowing that I have energy around that, I spent some time this week looking to see if there's anything out there, and if there is, I didn't find it. I think I didn't talk to a realtor or just somebody that specializes in that, but just doing cold searches on the internet, I couldn't find anything.
I know that there are churches that they're either upsizing or downsizing, whatever they sell their buildings. And I forgot, Michael is part of an AA group near our house, and he gave me a card of where they meet at a church. It's more of a traditional church, but the minister was interested in connecting with me, and I don't know if he thought about how we might co-share space, but that's another option too, is collaborating. It's the only problem is, you know, if it's traditional like us, having a morning service makes it a little different. But for instance, Unity of Olympia, they sold their building, and they are now using a Jewish synagogue. They had a relationship with them, and the synagogue invited them to come because they didn't need it on Sunday morning. And they have their own space that they can have their things, and they can do other events things. And the minister said, I'm just so grateful to not have to have the building maintenance weight over our heads. And they welcomed us, and it's been a great collaboration. So thinking outside the box, a lot of things are possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is a beautiful brick church on 6th Avenue, just a few blocks from here, that has a diminishing congregation, and they are just barely keeping their doors open. And I feel that we could either talk to them about possibly renting space or something else.
What kind of church did you?
I don't know the denomination.
We can find out the name, and we could check it out.
BRICK.
But those are the kind of things.
Beautiful, and it has its own parking lot.
Ah, well, we do too, but if we were filling this space, we don't have enough parking, and that's always a challenge.
I feel a need to jump in with a kind of a contrarian view on looking for space. If we're paying $3,500 a month and we move to some other place, I don't know what we might, so let's say we got it down to $2,000 or $1,500. So let's say we got it down to $1,500, which I think is very unlikely. Then that would save us $24,000 a year, and our deficit against our budget right now is $24,000 for 6 months. So I think...
Well, it's overall for the year we're projecting 30,000, but at this point we don't really know.
I guess my point is that that's not the solution to, and it is, I speak as the former president of the board, when we moved from out of the little white church into a school building and then into Edgewood. And that takes a tremendous amount of energy. And I think our energy is better spent on the other ideas that we've had here, rather than think, oh, we can get some cheap place that's really good. This is one of the best places. I've been a member of this church for over 30 years, and in several different locations. This is the best spot that we've had in all those years. And so I think more filling it up and moving forward, it's always, as Al was saying, it's the emotional connection. And some people may aspire to the emotional connection to a building, but I think most people really do not. And when you start working on that, it is an energy suck.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally get that.
It's dangerous, I think, to be thinking about that as a solution.
Well, I just want to preface that I would never look at it as a solution, that it would only be if it enhanced our conditions and our circumstances and gave us something that we could build from better. And it's certainly not a priority for the board to be even looking at that. It does kind of spill around every once in a while because, you know, there's things that we would like to change that we don't have in our control. But there's a cost involved, and every time you do a major transition like that, you always lose members of your community, and we're not in a position to want to lose any members of our community. But we don't want to say no to something that would be amazing beyond our ability to conceive of right now. And it doesn't hurt to consider something, but it's certainly not a priority for us to say that's what we need to do. And I do know what it takes. Yeah.
But that often is, has been a voice of aspiration for all of us. We have our own place, but I think as you bring up, there's other churches are selling their places, and it's kind of a lodestone.
Thank you. And you know, and also we have to think about what is the church of the future? You know, what are we evolving into? Will it be all about having a building? You know, will it just be smaller groups of people gathering? And that's the other thing that I want to really look at is implementing year-round is what is called more like spirit groups, where we have smaller groups of people connecting because they're making connections, they're making friends, there's engagement, and then you share that and you come all back together when we're in one group on a Sunday. But those ways, that's how you manage too. When you have a large congregation, the only way people really get to know each other is in smaller group situations. So when you set that up, then you are setting yourself up for growth, but always to continue to have engagement with the members. So that's something else that I'm looking at how we might implement moving forward at some point.
What did you call that?
Spirit groups. But it's the same thing as like small study groups. And it wouldn't necessarily always being a book study. It could be just questions. Just spirit groups. It could be that I create a list of questions that could be used from every Sunday service, and the group gets together and they just go deeper with the questions and share their own wisdom within that. It could be as simple as that.
In that same line of thought, for me, it grinds me to call this a church because to me this is my spiritual center.
We
It's
are
my
a spiritual center.
space. And church has so many, just like tithing, right? It has some connotations for people. So anyway, along that line though, there is a group that is meeting around a spiritual question. Like, what is your concept of this or that or the other? And they get together, and I think it's based in the Baha'i faith.
Oh.
Right. And I think they get quite a few, and they put it out to the community. And it's like Thursday nights, once a week, something. Saturday. Anyway, so I think that's a really cool idea that we could grow with too, because I thought that's very similar to how we are, really. Yeah.
And along that line too is because we always know it's creating awareness outside of our initial community. Is if any of you notice places where information is posted, that we could have a flyer or some information, and that, you know, we could take responsibility of like different people check in on different places, because people will notice things and they might show up eventually. How can we get who we are out in places where people that don't know we exist, but they're curious?
This might be too low vibe for us, I don't know, but what popped in my head was restaurant takeovers. Because our PTA gets a ton of money once a month, once a quarter, whatever.
So what exactly is
It's a
it?
restaurant takeover where you go and eat, and a percentage of what's
Oh,
eaten is
yeah,
given
yeah, yeah.
back. And you can have friends and family who maybe don't come here, but love to go eat out. That's,
And they agree to give a percentage of the sales to,
yeah, you just have to show the flyer or mention the nonprofit.
right. I think that's on one of the list of ideas on this site that I found. And one of them, and I don't know if I don't think there was a cost involved, but I have to go dig deeper into it, is that they might help coordinate that. Like if you have a name of a restaurant or an organization that you would want to collaborate with, they would reach out and help set it up in the right way. But those could be fun things to do that could make a difference. It's when we do that consistently throughout the year, little fun things like that, it can add up. We don't want to rely on that, but why not tap into something that could benefit us? Yeah, it's bringing people together too. Having fun together is important because then people are engaged and want to stay connected to our community. That's the emotional connection too. Any other ideas? Because I know we want to wrap this up. Yes?
One that comes up for me is we talked about for the picnic is to do a monthly drum circle, and then ask for everybody to bring their drums and a $5 donation. It's small, and if you get it consistent, it can build up.
Yeah, that would be fun. Actually, the board and I have been talking, and for our picnic this year, which will be the second Sunday in August, we are going to have a drumming circle, but also Unity of Kent gifted us their labyrinth that is hand-painted and beautiful, and we're going to bring that out and to the park and have a labyrinth walk as part of our picnic too. So that's another thing. We have that. We can use it for special events. It can be in any of our bigger rooms. So just all of you know that. We maybe is something we can create on a regular basis as well. So drumming circles could be a really cool, fun thing. That's the other thing we found out is I didn't know that there are 2 drums that have been gifted to us, large ones, that have been in sacred space taken care of. They were, and the intention is they had to be a woman taking care of it, and Jennifer Richardson has one of them, and the other one was Karen Hamilton had, and we didn't realize that, and she moved to Idaho with the drum. So we're in a process of coordinating how we can get the drum back from her and keep it within somebody in the community that lives nearby so we can still use this amazing drum. What?
Talk to me.
You'll go get it? Somebody was planning to go out that way and was...
Yes.
It was LaDonna, okay. Yeah, so there's kind of a plan in place, but if that doesn't work, we'll let you know. So, you know, I had a great conversation with Robert Brummett, who's written a number of books that I've shared here, and he's one of my minister mentors, and he was a professor when I was in seminary. He taught all of the prayer and counseling and spiritual counseling and that kind of class. But he does mindfulness meditation. He's a teacher of that, and he has a really strong connection with the Buddhist temple in Kansas City, and he started doing more regular work with them. And he said it's very interesting in that that community has tripled in size in the last 2 years, whereas the Unity Church that's just down the street is dwindled. And so I don't know if that speaks to is that more people are seeking more mindfulness meditation, the sacredness of things, that they're not wanting anything that appears to be organized religion. Because even though we aren't really, we do a regular service in it, there's some appearances of, and people don't know until they really come in and experience us. So that's just something else to keep in mind as well. So let's keep the ideas flowing. You know, we're kind of a think tank and thinking outside the box, and some of you might have something that we didn't tap into that could be really easily implemented. But just know that everything takes those that are willing to help participate, make it happen. The board and I can't just do everything. I've had to spend a lot of extra time with administrative, the evolution of that, and just kind of, we're trying to be very intentional, but also be willing to think outside the box of how we manage our administrative energies and to reduce time and cost by hours, we're kind of moving through it. So we're still in that process of sort of figuring it out. It's just taken a little more of my time and energy. But what we're doing now is really important. Linda?
Is there an extra fee when we use the church for things like yoga classes? Because we used to have Danny would come in and do all kinds
Well,
of...
Stacy's a yoga teacher. She's fabulous. Because we did a New Year's Day, beginning the new year with the yoga practice. It was wonderful. So those are things we could do. We do have space. The agreement with our landlords is we have the space until 1 o'clock every Sunday. If we want to use the space outside of that, we have to ask permission. And most of the time, as long as it's not being used by anything else, they allow us. But if we started asking to use it more often, they may also then want to increase our rent or make it a pay for event, which we could do if we know that there's going to be income coming from it. A percentage of it then could go to the landlord. So we just have to be mindful of that. Whenever we can combine things, they need us as much as we need them, because this is a designated historical church, which requires legally to have some kind of a church or spiritual organization a part of it. So they can't own this building without having us here. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. Yes?
So I'm kind of seeing the through line and connecting the dots to the idea of the yoga, the idea of the drumming, the idea of a spiritual movement as opposed to a spiritual church. Those are the kinds of things that will bring people in.
Yeah.
Literally hundreds of thousands, millions, indeed hundreds of millions of people around the world are moving in this direction. Unity is right at the vanguard of that. It's just that we have to find a way to language it differently. Because people are hungry for it. So I love the use of that, and that could be another way of bringing people in. So I just love that. Because
Exactly.
We'll come to that, and then when they come in, they make connection. Because then spirit steps in, right? So you meet people, the places, the things and stuff that ignites something inside of you. And you walk away and you say, God, I like that. That was time well spent. I want to stay involved with those folks. I think that's a really effective way for us to go forward, because we have the principles, we have the practices, we have the techniques. People are hungry for those.
Exactly, and we have a very effective media and marketing manager that can help create the collateral material and the social media connection. She knows how to market it, she knows how to create it, and she's trying to be very consistent with what we do, so that there's a consistency in our look and the space and how we're approaching it. And so that just brings to mind one other quick thing, is just to let you know that if any of you have ideas or you're wanting to create an event or something, please know that we are not asking you to create the collateral material, the handouts and things. Just bring your ideas and the dates and things. And as a matter of fact, I have a new form that we're going to be on the information table, and I'll have Mary add it to the website too, but it's a prosperity event proposal form. And so if you have any ideas for events, you just take this and you just put down your ideas, the proposed date, time, location, the materials, what would be the cost, if anything that needs to be realized, how do you imagine the event being successful, whatever. That way we have it in writing. We can come to you and say, okay, let's talk about doing this. What would it take? And Mary can create registration forms on our website, through our e-blast, the marketing material, and it will all be consistently and done really well, and she does it like that. So we don't have to struggle with trying to come up with that stuff, and then Amy doesn't have to do it either. She just prints things and adds it, or we put in announcements, whatever. So just know that we have a good tool within our hands, and the form will help you so that you can present something with clarity to us. So I think we're going to wrap up this part. We will capture this information and share it with the community. We want to continue with a visioning circle and to keep the ideas moving as we become clear with who and what we are. And all of you, you're charged with reaching out to the people that you know, the people that maybe you're missing that you haven't seen, and invite them to come back. especially if you know maybe there's a special event, like our picnic this year is going to be really fun. It'll be a way to engage with some meaningful content along with food and conversation.
Who's in charge of the picnic this year?
Well, see, that's the thing. We don't have an event team in place to do that. And Heidi always told me that the board planned it, and the board didn't know that they were supposed to be planning it. So we were always like in a quick fix trying to pull it all together. So basically, the church buys the grilling food content and condiments and buns and that kind of thing, and then we ask people to bring the sidelines. So we put together kind of a guideline of what we want to do, but we're going to need an event team to help us pull it together.
I have donations for the picnic.
Well, we ask people just to bring side dishes. We provide the main course, so to speak, with hot dogs and vegan dogs and buns and gluten-free buns and condiments. And then everybody just brings something. That's the way it worked last year. Chris and her husband brought a grill, and he was willing to manage that. Jennifer organizes kids' activities, but we don't have anybody designated in charge. So that's just an example of what we're up against when we don't have a team that's ready to jump in and help us make it happen.
Are there tables yet?
Oh yeah, there's we rent what's the park called? Franklin? Yeah, there's like a little kiosk covered, and there's like tables that are fixed in place, and then we bring a canopy and people bring chairs. So when we get closer, we put a list out of everybody what they need to bring and what they need to know. But we don't necessarily have a team to set up and help make it happen. It's sort of the board. What do you want on there? Well, it's not, see, that's not the team. If we have an event team, then they jump in whenever we have an event, and the picnic would be an event. So we're not just trying to put together a team for every separate event that we're doing. That's our goal. Okay, so I do want to do one thing. We're losing people fast and furious, and unfortunately, they're going to miss out on this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I wanted to honor you and bless you. Come up here with me. And darn, we don't have any music. I'm going to ask you all, just like you can create 2 lines just to come up, and we're going to bless your hands. And so this is a very sacred way of honoring each other, just like when Jesus washed the disciples' feet. We're going to do hands instead of feet. And just like that, we honor each other, and that there's a sacred caring and nurturing of our members in this community. And so that as we're doing that, Stacy and I will gently just wash your hands. There's a towel, little napkins here you can use to dry your hands. And we just want to, oh, that's great. We needed some music. So just go ahead and just start to line up, and you can come here and then just come up this way and go that way. And we just want to end with this blessing. Thank you for the blessings that you are. You make a difference in this community and in the world. Turn them over. Thank you. There's I should put this over here. So, thank you for being a blessing to this community.
Thank you.
So in closing, let's just turn our attention within. We bring our awareness to the light that we are, the vibration that's active in and through and as us, breathing through us in this moment. And we're grateful for all of the collective ideas that we've tapped into, knowing that we have begun to plant seeds, and those seeds will grow and nurture and become more. And so we hold the capacity of this space right now, that we become a beacon of light in this community, and that people will see it, and they'll be drawn to it, and they will come and find a welcoming place, and they will engage with us, and we will evolve more and more and more. So let us consider how we can make a difference to those that come to seek in this place. In a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation for all that is, we give thanks, and so it is. Amen. Thank you, each of you, for sharing this time with us, and we look forward to more engagement as we move forward. Thank you. How time flies. It's so amazing to think that I've been here 2 years. So I actually have a 5-year contract, so I'll be here at least 3 more years, but I could probably be here longer, as long as things are going well.